Good.
Okay, here we go, it should be working.
Are you trying to
We
save
can
electricity?
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I always want to say amen after that. 'Cause I do.
Kelly, remember that light?
That's what happens.
Instead of following, I gotta go, my heating up and
Okay.
can't breathe.
Thank you for coming in, talking to her. So, and this is the Lebanon Appeals Board. Today is December the 14th, Monday. We have a pretty full agenda of items to discuss. We have a quorum, which is 3 people on this board. Roland, Dee Dee, and myself constitute a quorum. David, our code enforcement officer, is here. We were expecting Kathy. Lyle also attended, but he's not feeling well. He has some coffee issues.
Yes.
So, first thing on our agenda is the Berube appeal, and this is regarding 23 Paradise Row, correct? This is still what we're talking, 23? So, just a quick recap for those who are watching. Mr. Berube came before us back in September, correct?
Yep.
September.
Yep.
September 22nd. For a public hearing regarding a road setback issue. The house that Mr. Berube had built was 8 feet too close to Paradise Row. We went and did a site visit and we looked at it. And then we came in here to meeting. This will help catch your attorney up to date as well, but we went and did a site visit. We looked at it. We came in here and we spoke with both Mr. Berube and his real estate agent, Mrs. Cudworth. And Mrs. Cudworth was very upset. She thought that the selectmen should just be able to write a letter saying that being 8 feet too close to the road was okay. That's not how we operate here. So we did hear that. Part of what we heard during that public hearing was a letter that came from DEP asking us to not consider the variance until we had seen a wetlands delineation. Mr. Berube didn't feel that he should need to do the wetlands delineation because he said that the house was on a hill. However, as a land use attorney, optically you look at a property and if it's on a small hill, it doesn't matter if it's in between 2 big huge hills. So rather than deny Mr. Berube the variance, we talked to Mr. Berube, who said that he could move the road, alter the 2 deeds because he owned the property on both sides, 23 and 26, and that he would get us the wetlands delineation by the October, but certainly the November meeting. So we've been waiting, and we've had some back and forth discussions with Ms. Cudworth. We've had some discussions with David. This isn't about the flood zone. Whether or not you're in the flood zone, that affects your insurance. But this is about his wetlands protection area, which seemed to be in the back of the property, and DEP requested that we get that. We didn't request that, DEP did. So we put that on the line, and now I understand from our land use clerk that the discussion is about removing his application. And certainly, I'm speaking for myself, not the whole board, they'll speak for themselves in a moment. For myself, if we've required Mr. Berube through the DEP to give us these documents, and rather than to comply with that, if he removes his application, that does not negate me as the chairman from my job in creating a fact and finding report, which then goes back to DEP, who we're required to report to because he's in wetlands area. It goes back to DEP, it goes to code enforcement, it goes to the selectmen, and it goes to the mortgagee. So all of these people have to get a copy of that he did not comply with what this board asked him to do and what he agreed to do. So my concern is this, certainly David is very easy to work with. And we felt as a board that we were way above and beyond in extending him extra time in order to get this paperwork completed and get it back to us. When he had said there may be an issue with that, we said, you know, we're willing to give him another 90 days as of tonight, but we had to hear it tonight because of legal constraints. One moment. We had to hear it tonight because of legal constraints and timelines on when we have to hear these. So it had to be heard tonight. We can give him another 90 days to get that stuff into us. And certainly hear it at that time. If he has the paperwork, we're all good. If he doesn't, then we'll take it up then. The second thing is he can pull his application, which does remove any of our power, except for one thing, that house is still 8 feet too close to the road. And he can't get a variance from David. He can't get a variance from the selectmen. He needs that variance from us because he's 8 feet too close to the road, still. If he's going to alter that, that's fine, as long as David gets the paperwork showing he altered it, we're all done with it. But we still do have to create that fact and finding, and we have to submit it because we've already started this process with DEP. So, that's where I'm at with this, and now rolling.
But didn't Mr. Barrowby say that he'd already done this for the others across the street?
He did say,
You already said you went through this DEP, somebody for the wetlands across the street.
and he was required to.
No.
You told us that you
Yes.
did that. You
And
did.
yes,
No.
so he did, correct, David?
I think you did
And he
do
was
that.
required a
Because I'm the
wetlands,
one, Pete.
he was required a wetlands delineation for the property across the street, and he was required to fill in, correct?
Yeah, I don't think it was, he didn't get, I don't think you got the whole, yeah, remember we sat with Jen and she pulled it up on the computer, she talked to somebody up with the DEP, and you had to bring in Phil to bring it up to a certain
Oh,
level.
you mean
That's what she's
across the
talking
street?
about.
You're not
Yes.
talking about the house
No,
now.
No, we're
26,
talking across the street.
so he's
Oh, why
already
don't you talk one
done
thing
this.
at a time? You're talking about the house.
You're talking about where you live, across the street.
No, that's
Well,
not.
you
No,
don't
no,
have
no,
to
no,
live there.
Well,
The house, not the trailer.
Correct, so there's 23 and 26, and your attorney can also chime in if he has any question. 26, he did the wetlands delineation, he brought everything up to par, he did everything that the DEP asked. Now, when we go to hear about 23, and we're only hearing it because it's 8 feet too close to the road, if you hadn't put it too close to the road, we wouldn't have ever heard it. But
23 's on
because.
top of a hill.
Right. No, it's
Where
on
do you
top
go?
of a small mound, it is not a
the
hill.
whole area is.
But, correct, you have to look at the whole area, not the little 500 feet that the house is built on, hold on. So, here's the deal. He did it for 26, he knows what needs to be done. Okay, he did it for 26. Now, he brings 23 into us because it's 8 feet too close to the road. Because it's on waterfront, on the little river, we're required by law, 20 days before our hearing, to send that packet of information to DEP. DEP, Lucian Langoy, sends us back a requirement to see a wetlands delineation. DEP required it of us, we didn't just dream it up.
Can I ask a quick?
No, listen, I'm not disputing any of that. I'm ready whenever.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Ken, did you end up moving the road? Or did, what happened with?
It's all done.
Well, you want me to speak to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright. Had I been here at the first meeting, I probably would have approached this a lot differently.
I
Okay?
figured.
That, moving the road, not an easy thing to do. That
Right.
land is owned by, another couple who also have a mortgage on the property.
Correct.
And someone else has a right of way over it. So, I get like, a broker might say, oh, do some deeds to move the road. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Okay,
Whole
hold
lot
on one
more-
second there,
Yep.
let us interrupt you. That was not our requirement.
No, of course.
That was Mr. Berube and Ms. Cudworth said that was how they were going to remedy it, rather than
I
submit.
suggested
You mentioned.
Correct, but they said they were going to do that, rather than submit to a wetlands delineation and all that stuff that we wanted them to do. They didn't wanna do that, he said, we'll just remedy this, we'll move the road.
No, I suggested
Okay.
that, and he said yes.
I'm just saying,
So, my question was just, is that was done, so.
So, yeah, so.
So it can't
what I
be
had
done
to do,
legally.
first of all, I had to, search the title to determine who the heck who can sign these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had to look for mortgages and things like that. So, and I had to work with another attorney representing all these people in order to have them review deeds in order to create this type of thing. So when I was saying that, had I been here, I probably would have handled it differently with him. I probably would have been like, yeah, why don't we just table this and let me go see what we've got, because it's definitely not a simple thing to do. So what's going on with that is it's actually in progress. I've got the, I had to also prepare a partial release of the mortgage on that property, so that it wouldn't be encumbered by a mortgage, or that I wouldn't send people into foreclosure by giving away part of their land. So I've done all that, the deeds have been approved, they have not yet been signed, we're trying to arrange a signing. The impact of that is, when I look back procedurally what we've got here, we have a variance application seeking a variance for the side setback. When I look at it and I see, all right, well, if he acquires more land so he meets the setback, he no longer obviously needs a variance.
Correct.
And so that was why I suggested to Jen on the phone that, geez, it didn't look like he was gonna get the variance anyway. It sounded like you probably weren't inclined to grant him the variance.
Well, that wasn't it, we just
Okay.
had those paperwork requirements, I mean, we can't, obviously forensically, the three of us decide what we didn't decide.
Sure.
We were hearing it, we gave him an extension of time just to bring in that paperwork first.
No, and I
Just-
appreciate it. Yeah.
Just that wetlands delineation that DEP was requiring of us to have before we could rule on that. So, had we gotten that, it would have already progressed and probably already been done by now.
Yeah.
But instead, David went out, it was said the road was moved, David went out, there was some other measurements, then it was discussed that they had measured instead of 25 feet from center, they had erroneously only left 25 feet for the road, and they had measured 12 and a half feet from center, so the whole moving of the road was incorrect. I mean, it became actually more of a nightmare than it ever should have been. And all we needed was that wetlands delineation, and it would have been probably long over and done with by now. But instead, we keep going around these convoluted ways to try to get around giving him a variance, and all we need is the wetlands delineation proving he's not too close to the wetland.
Certainly, I don't have that to give to you today, you know, he's already spent a ton of money
Right.
with engineers and lawyers and all these other things. So I don't have that to give to you today, but when I looked at it, and I saw we're taking care of the front setback, everything else, as far as I know, has been approved, and we don't need a variance anymore. That's when I mentioned to her, it probably makes sense we just withdraw the application. And then when I got your letter explaining all the different things, I figured maybe I should at least come to this meeting so we could have a discussion about it.
Right, I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Then we're all on the same page.
Well, and that makes sense, you know, I could have fired off a letter saying, well, I think this makes this, but, I mean, it seemed like it made much more sense for me to come here, talk face to face with Gil, explain what he's been doing and where he's at. In my mind, I believe that if it's gonna be resolved with acquiring more land and taking care of the setback issue, there is no more variance now in front of the board.
Once that's complete, it's not complete yet, okay?
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, the part on your letter that I wanted to discuss today was where you wrote that, okay, Gil can withdraw his application, file in the future if you needed it, all right, fine, and then that you were going to make a finding and fact report. I just wanted to discuss that and just to, you know, figure out what are we talking about, because a finding and fact report, I mean, respectfully, I don't know if there's any jurisdiction anymore once there's no variance in front of the board. If the finding and fact report, I mean, if it said this is what we did and this is what we didn't get and this is how it ended up,
That's what
all that
it
is basically
And it
the
does
minutes.
not say, it will state at the end that the application was removed and that we had no no end result. We didn't have to give a variance or one way or the other, and we didn't have to make an administrative decision one way or the other because the application was removed. So the fact and finding report is, basically what it will do, it will outline all of the discussions that we've just outlined with you. It will outline what the board required of him. It will outline the extension of time and the requirements that we asked him, Mr. Berube. It will also outline that he did not follow through with those requirements and that, instead pulled his application. So that,
I mean, I think that's, all that is really is in fact what happened. I mean, that's nothing.
right,
You know.
so then it will also, that goes now to code enforcement, and DEP is his to deal with now, not ours. You know, as soon as that's written and we remand it back to code enforcement, all done. It also has to go to DEP because DEP, we're required to give them by law 20 days before the hearing. And then we're also required to give them our findings at the end of that, by law, we have to. So, that will go to DEP and they will know that there was no wetlands delineation completed on that property. And it will go to the selectmen and it will go to Mr. Berube as the owner of that property. Now, it's also been said to us by the selectmen that in order to protect the town, that it probably should go to the new purchasers of the property as well, so that they know and understand that they're purchasing something that that was never finished, never completed, that wetlands delineation did not happen. And should somebody else complain in the future, or should they go to sell that property in the future and the bank says, hey, hold on, you're too close to this wetland, and now they're stuck with it, they knew beforehand that they could be stuck with this property because that house may be too close to a wetlands area that Mr. Berube refused to provide a wetlands delineation, so we don't know.
I mean, and I can't obviously control what the selectmen decide to do. I think they would have to get their own legal advice on what their obligations are. I will just point out that there are laws regarding disclosures that are provided. He's working with licensed broker. Whoever requires it is gonna have their own attorney, title search, due diligence, all those.
Correct, and that's why we have to go ahead and do this, and any good title lawyer will find that. So
Well,
whether
and
it's,
if
whether
there's
it's
an issue
this,
with
these people
enforcement,
are down the street.
yeah, if there's an issue of enforcement, if there's anyone we wanna be dealing with, no disrespect to this board, I wanna be dealing with the proper authority. And I believe that once the variance comes, is no longer before the board, nothing I do here in a way matters anymore because there's no more jurisdiction.
Right.
So that was my purpose of coming here today. I just wanted to, make it so that hopefully Mr. Berube and the town are on the same page that once he pulls the variance application because it's no longer necessary, which I think you're agreed to do today because there's no
What am I
reason.
doing now about flood? I hired this guy to do that.
He's doing the flood, he's doing a Loma, what's going on is he's doing a Loma to take it out of the flood zone. Yeah.
So he's trying to, so when he goes to do that altitude and all that stuff for the flood, that's part of your wetlands delineation right there.
I don't
He
even know,
should
I'm not an engineer, you know?
You know, but I mean, I'm just saying that if he's doing that anyway for flood, high water marks and stuff like that, probably just as easy to get it done, but that's my personal thing. I mean, I would certainly spend the money to have it right,
He's
but,
already spent the money. Yeah, he already paid it. He's spending a lot of money to get it done on, you know.
well, and I mean, that's what happens sometimes when you're building on a property. I mean, it's part of the cost of doing business, as you know, there's things you have to get done, and certainly, building on a waterfront, or building on a riverfront, or building in a wetlands area, you know, you have to get it all right for the state, and I mean, in Lebanon, it's been notorious for years, just fill it in and don't tell anybody, but under this board's authority, we've tried to stop some of that.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be, just fill it in and hope nobody catches you.
No, it
So,
shouldn't be.
exactly, and I mean, we've tried very hard not to have that happen anymore, so,
And I know talking with Gil, if Dave has any concerns, he'll work with Dave on any of those issues.
and that's fine, we
Yeah.
trust David, and David's done a fine job throughout this whole thing, and he's been very good at talking with the board and filling us in, and we have no issues with that, but, so if you are going to, formally withdraw your application, if you could just, if you have a letter with you, or if you could just email one to
I'll
Jen in the
email
morning.
it tonight.
Yeah, just, email it to Jen in the morning,
Yep.
and then that will generate the fact and finding, so when you, go ahead and email Jen in the morning, you can actually request her to send you a copy of that when it's completed, and in that way you'll be on the list too, and then you'll see who it goes to and who it doesn't, so, you know, I mean, that we'll double check with the selectmen and, make sure where they need it to go to, and then we'll make sure that you get a copy as well, but, you know, again, you know, I didn't want Mr. Berube to think that we were picking on him. You
Yeah,
know,
you are.
this is,
I can tell.
you're bigger than I am, you're bigger than I am, but not that that matters much, but, we didn't want him to feel that we were picking on him, it's just that this, we've
You
gone
should've
through a
been
whole
married then.
string. We've gone through a whole string of these as a new board, as a board that's been sitting together now, we're pretty close to 3 years, some of us, 4 years, some of us. We've gone through all of these old ones, and we're almost finished with them. And we don't wanna start messing them up or letting these old things go, we wanna try to get them fixed and bring everything into as close to compliance as possible, so, you know, I just, I wish you well, and it's a beautiful house, and, I wish you well, and.
Can't sell it, what good is it?
Well, you could sell it if you got me my
Fine,
paperwork.
you
yeah.
already sold it.
I still don't understand what happened here tonight. I understand zero. Well, what did you come here tonight for? I know
Because
nothing.
we had to, listen, I think it was good that you came here tonight to talk face to face about this stuff, because.
I've been here before face to face, didn't do me any good. So now tonight, I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe you do need this, I'm just kidding.
You're gonna,
Face to face all you want, you don't get nowhere.
we're gonna realign the road, if for whatever reason they don't sign, then you would have to refile this thing, you definitely would have to get her the wetlands delineation thing.
So if they sign all set,
Yeah, well.
Right, as long as you can do that and get that all taken care of,
Yeah, the road.
you're
That's all-
fine.
that's
Now,
all-
You
that's
don't
all
wanna
we're
leave,
worried
I mean, your other option is to leave it open for another 90 days and withdraw it if they didn't sign or whatever.
personally, I thought that we were giving you a pretty good deal with that. Because if you withdraw it today, take it off of our table today, then that means if they say no, and he's gotta come back
It's a
again,
pay again.
You
it's
gotta pay
another
again.
$300.
Well, could I ask this? I mean, if I leave it out for 90 days and we get the thing signed, can I just withdraw it by a letter, not have to show up for?
You can, because we're hearing this tonight, so.
Would you agree with that?
I thought they said they were gonna sign.
They will, but you never know until the ink's on the paper.
That's right. You could
Why
go
don't
in
we
there
do-
tomorrow,
why
you
don't
could
we
run
do
another
that?
20 grand.
Yeah, why don't we do that if that's okay? I'll take you up on that,
Okay,
Chairman, and, if you can hold it open and hopefully if I get the thing signed, I'll just send you a letter and say we're all set.
that's fine. Yeah, and just, make sure
Then
that,
it don't cost you no more money.
Right,
right,
You
that
don't
way
do
it
that,
doesn't
it don't
cost.
cost you another $300.
But just make sure when you have that road there,
Nothing now.
when you have
if
that,
you're handing it out, Dale, I'll take
Well,
$3
I'll take, you
then.
give 150 to her and give me 150.
300,
not
I'll give it to
me.
you right now.
I don't want
That's all
none
it
of,
takes.
I don't want anybody's
$8,000
money, do I, David? No,
It's
no
stuff
money.
right now.
I understand.
So,
Here's what I suggest, when you do that, please forward a copy of the new road structure and the deeds, so that it can go right with this file, and it's all nice and neat and tidy, and I don't have to go looking for it in 3 months, okay?
I'll do that.
And then I'm happy,
Okay,
okay?
sounds good.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Okay.
no, I said I didn't get nothing.
Yes, you did. We got plenty.
You
That's
got
the
Dean to
lawyer.
laugh at, huh?
He's the one that got the stuff, yeah.
Okay, so there's that.
Right, yeah.
So,
Have a nice Christmas, Bobby.
bye, Merry Christmas, Stan.
Yeah.
Bonsoir.
So, very nice, that ended very well, thank you.
We
So-
got-
I like that lawyer.
Yeah, he's very nice, and he gets it, yeah. He's not fresh.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I do.
But you know what I don't understand is, why did they have to get all these other people to sign off?
Because the road is not their property to
Wait a
move.
minute, but there was a house here and a house here. I had suggested just take some of the frontage off this house.
Except for that it's a privately owned road,
Right.
they don't own it.
Right.
No, but he owns the frontage on that, house.
But he doesn't own the road. The road is deeded to the guy in the back, they own that road. So if he's moving that road, it's changing their deed, you see what I'm saying? So that's why I
Okay,
cautioned against
yeah.
that, like, make sure it's all done, all the T's.
What else we gotta do now?
Fine. So the next thing we have, don't interrupt me, you ask me a question, I'm answering you. This goes with this. That goes with that. So the next thing that we have is, the discussion on, I don't need David right now, but the discussion on, Dannenhauer, so,
Yeah, we have to do these math ones, just the three of us in here.
I know.
God, they suck.
um,
Sorry, they do. Hand it down. I can't believe it.
So Sylvia Dannenhauer was a person that sent in her real estate agent and her builder, on June the 29th. We heard this case on June the 29th. So,
what was it for?
it was for, a lot R14, map R14 lot 17A on the corner of Gully Oven Road and Brianna.
Oh, yeah, I
Drive.
remember that. Yeah,
Okay, small lot.
Yeah, yeah.
We decided that it was indeed a lot that could be built on because it was inherited, it wasn't purchased. We allowed them to build a small home on that. The problem being was that there was short road, way short.
Didn't have enough road frontage on
On
Gully
Gully
Oven.
Oven, we told them that one of the conditions for them building was to put their access and egress off of Brianna Drive.
Right.
So apparently Jen heard from a legal representative, who's questioning our authority to allow, Dannenhauer's access and egress off of a private road, Brianna Drive, which we cannot do. It's owned by whoever owns it. But that was not, we didn't say that we were giving him permission to do that. We required him to do that.
Should put your driveway over there.
So as far as I'm concerned, but I always bring it to my board members because I don't want to be the only one. As far as I'm concerned, that should be up to the applicant to then approach the people of Brianna Drive and make a road maintenance agreement and pay their share. They have to deal with that, not us.
Right.
Absolutely.
But we can't let him, we have Brianna Drive here and his neighbor's driveway here, and he's only got 30 feet, we can't allow him to put another driveway in there on Gully Oven, it's too close, so, I told Jen that I would bring it to you, and she's going to write back to the attorney with our decision. I'm going to stand pat on our decision
Yep.
he can build on that small lot, but he has to go up.
Either that or you don't have no access at all.
That's right.
So you
So,
can't have it on
I
Gully
definitely
Oven.
wasn't part of this meeting.
yes, you are.
I definitely wasn't.
No, me, Lyle, Roland, and,
I definitely,
people.
yeah, I don't know where I was.
So,
Yeah, I guess.
anyway, I'm going to make a motion that we stand, on requiring him to do his access and egress off Brianna Drive.
It's up to him to get permission from the right-of-way owners.
To work out
if he wants
something
to
with
go and have
them.
his
Cause he's
driveway
probably
there.
gonna have to pay road maintenance and snow plowing like everybody else who has access on a private road. So, that's my motion, is that we stand on this, fact and finding report, and that our decision was he
Can I read the
has
fact and finding
to
report quick
be
so I
on
can-
Brianna Drive and not on Gully Oven.
He didn't have enough frontage on Gully Oven.
Only 30 feet. He had 198 feet, he
Right.
was 2 feet short on the Brianna Drive side, which is why we allowed it on
Right.
Brianna Drive. I mean, we've already gone above and beyond, because the lot's too small, and we allowed them to build a small house on it as long as they did the right thing on the access. So typical, it's
That's good. I
help him out a little bit with
I
something.
second your motion about making that.
thank you.
Can I just read this real quick so I can come up to speed with it?
Yeah.
I was here for this part of this, what are you talking?
I knew you were.
I was here when we voted you for the chair.
So this is actually I don't know what that is. This is actually the final decision here, is here. We voted, we gave them a variance, cause they had 3/4 of an acre, okay, which is small.
Gave
We
it
gave
to
them the variance to allow them to build, what they had there, and the motion was made for a variance of 2 feet, existing to the road frontage requirement, 200 feet on Brianna Drive, and that motion also passed,
Yeah, I think so I'm gonna go, I agree with that, you're making the right decision.
okay? So,
I saw,
I motioned, he second, all in favor? Okay, so that's good, that's another one off our desk for now. The next one that we have to, do is Bragdon. So as you heard me telling him, even if somebody pulls their application, we still have to legally create a document that tells what happened during that whole discussion and our finding, which we made none, because he pulled it just moments before we made our finding. So, I just wanted to talk to you guys about that and find out, do you want to, with that particular case, because it is so intertwined and comprehensive, and we've heard him so many times, I would feel very comfortable if I wrote that, if I presented it and asked you guys to look at it and make sure that we're all on the same page with that. Because we were ready to vote when he pulled his application.
yeah, wasn't.
So, no, you weren't here. So, I mean, I just feel that sometimes I need to put that in front of my board and say, just look at it, because I don't wanna mess up, you
So
know?
Look at what?
the fact
At
and finding report.
Bragdon's, the fact and finding for Bragdon, for his thing where he
We
wanted
didn't
to
find
get,
anything.
well, that, we
We
still,
didn't even discuss it.
you don't listen. I'm trying to tell you. We didn't make a finding, that's
No.
exactly what I'm saying. But he pulled his application moments before
He
we
got mad
voted.
because we weren't agreeing with him. He
Correct.
got up and he said,
So I still have to create the document that goes with his file that says we did not have a
She wants us to
finding.
look at it before she
I
submits
just
that.
want to look at it before
That's nice.
so in other words, I need that he's not waiting for it, he doesn't need it for anything, we only need it for our own files. So I'm asking tonight for you to give me an extension until our next meeting
Yeah,
to get that done,
fine.
because it's so complicated and it's so interwoven with all of his stuff. Dee Dee, just, let me show you the file, Roland, that goes.
I know what it is, I've been here every
Look,
time.
I want you to
Roland.
see this.
Yeah.
This is the file that I'm dealing with, okay?
Yeah.
So,
So we have to grant you an extension for that, or you just asking us for more?
I'm just asking you guys to give me an extension to have that finished
Take
until the
2
next
months if you
meeting.
want.
Well, I think I should have it done by the next month, just, just because it needs to
And
be
honestly, I
done.
trust your decision and what you're gonna write in it, I don't really know if you need our.
Well, I mean, I can
honestly.
sign it without
I mean-
your approval, but I just think in that particular case, because it's marijuana and because it's so intertwined, and I think that there are other marijuana people sitting right there on that edge, just waiting to see what we do with Bragdon, so that they know where they're going, and so I would feel more comfortable, and I hope that you'll all agree
Yeah.
to
I
look it over.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I make a motion, he gets an you extended.
Okay,
As
till
long
our
as it takes you to
January
fill
meeting.
out the
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Perfect. As long as what?
It takes you to fill out the paper.
Yes, thank you, I appreciate that. So, that's Bragdon. The next thing that I have to do is a little bit of unpleasant business. We were asking, our member Don Lukes to come to meeting. He didn't wanna come to meeting because of COVID. He wanted to meet remotely. We couldn't do that, but then the governor's changed her decision, and now we could. So we made it available that he could come to meeting remotely, either on the laptop or via the telephone. I've reached out to him, Jen's reached out to him, everybody reached out to him, and we can't get him to answer us back.
No one else has responded to anything?
No response whatsoever, since we said, yes, he can come remotely, and they asked me if I would agree to that, and I said, of course I would.
2 months
because-
ago.
Yeah, so,
Right.
we've attempted multiple times to reach out to him, telephone, email, and all that, and we're not getting anything back. We can't put him off the board, but what we have to do is I have to send a letter to the selectmen asking for his removal from the board. And that's unpleasant, I don't like to do that, but I'm going to do that with your approval tonight.
But one of the reasons why you can is because you can only miss so many meetings.
Correct.
And he's missed,
Correct.
Half a dozen or
he-
more.
Well, he hasn't been here since last October, he came once and he left,
yeah.
And
so.
we made it available for him
That's,
to
that's,
be here.
that's the reason for dismissal right there.
So, well, and what it says is that when that happens, I
I
come to the
understand,
board,
yep.
we make a decision, and then I ask the selectmen. So I'm going to write that, if you guys will motion with me
Yeah.
for that, I'm gonna do that. I'll send
What's
that
the
tonight, and they'll read it on Thursday.
I'll make a motion to remove Don Lukes as a appeals board member via letter to the selectmen that Deb Wilson will write.
I second.
All in favor? Okay, and then the final, case in business is that I'm going to ask, the Board of Selectmen to appoint Kathy Perry, as a full member in Don Luke's, to fill Don Luke's term.
Yeah.
So her term would expire whenever Don's would
She
normally
was,
expire.
she's an alternate anyway.
She's our alternate, so I'm going to ask them to step up, so.
I'll make a motion for Kathy Perry to be appointed as a actual board member, not the alternate, in Don Luke's place, once Deb writes the letter to the
I
selectmen.
second it.
Okay, and then I don't need all in favor, and then I don't need a motion for the next step, but I will also be asking the selectmen to find us a new alternate as well. I mean, I think, I'm really, really happy with what this, I mean, we've stayed intact pretty much now. This is the longest I've ever seen the same board members on an appeals board forever, for as long as I can remember, so, you know, I'm very happy with all this, and I'm sorry to be losing Dawn, I tried everything I
How many
could, so.
people do you suppose I've seen?
I'm sure you've seen quite a few there, Roland, I'm sure.
Roland, how long have you been on the appeals board?
Oh, at
20
least
years or
20
something.
years.
Really?
Yeah, so, I mean, it boggles my mind, the
I
people that
almost
go in
didn't
and
make
out.
it because she tried to get rid of me.
I don't know if that's.
That's true.
It's not true, but he thinks that way.
Well, if you would stop misbehaving, we wouldn't have to
That's
deal with
right,
that.
You
I
just
played
have to
footsies with
be,
you under the table if I could reach you.
so at any rate, so that's where I'm going with that, and that concludes our business for this evening, and I will entertain a motion.
To adjourn the meeting?
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'm gonna second that motion.
All in favor? Done.
Okay, shut that off. Bye.
Bye, everybody.